Let's return to politics, and not always a good time, but interesting time. I want to bring in long-time Labor advisor Bruce Hawker, who's with us. Normally joined by Kerry Chikarovsky. Unfortunately, Kerry is unable to be here today, but you and I can continue to talk because there's heaps to go on with Bruce, isn't there? With Sussan Ley facing a real challenge. If we go back, let's rewind a week, and let's consider where we were. The government arriving back to Parliament. Tough summer for Anthony Albanese, and then look at what unfolded. I said earlier in the day to Simon Benson, he came in under a bit of pressure. The opposition made him look like Winston Churchill.
Yes, it was all self-inflicted, and they had an opportunity, and particularly Sussan Ley had an opportunity to look like she was a leader. And between her and Littleproud and various other characters, in the Liberal and National parties, they managed to completely look like they were at war with themselves, as they are, and were not acting in the Australian national interests. And that is unforgivable in the eyes of the Australian public, and they're going to be punished for that regardless of what happens. I'm absolutely certain about that because I've been around when the Labor Party's been at war with itself, and we have always been punished for that. The same will happen here. And this, to make it worse, it was in the wake of the tragedies and the horror of Bondi. And they were saying that Anthony Albanese wasn't doing enough, et cetera, and excoriating him and the Labor Party over that. And then when it came to a decision as to what they should do about issues like hate speech and gun control, they just return to their own old ways of thinking about things. They've got no excuses.
Sussan Ley urged her colleagues and in fact urged David Littleproud and the Nats to not deal with these matters on the day of mourning. The Liberals listened, the Nats didn't. There's a lot of distaste, I think, anger within the Liberal Party towards the Nats, particularly David Littleproud as well. So the idea that this is going to be healed or some rapprochement in the short term is hard to envisage unless they do have a change of leader. There are talks underway. I know that the calls are being made within the Liberal Party. That is true. And they're trying to work out, can Hastie and Taylor have an agreement? And those Conservatives I've spoken to today have said, they need to come up with an agreement so that we know we've got one person that we'd back. But either way, there's a chance Ley is rolled within the week.
Look, I think it's inevitable that she's going. Once the National Party said that they couldn't work with her, it was all over. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the old Country Party leader, Jack McEwen, back in about 1969, said he wouldn't work with Bill McMahon, who was one of the Liberals in the line for the leadership, and they went to Gorton. So this happens from time to time. They just say, we're not going to put up with it. And the reality, though, is that whoever the Liberals come up with, whether it's Angus Taylor or whether it's Hastie, they're going to come up with somebody from the right, and they're going to be pushing the Liberal Party and the Nationals are going to be pushing to the right as well, away from that centre ground that we know is where elections are won in Australia. And I just can't understand why they're going down that path.
The risk, well, you know, the complication to what you're saying here, and I guess I get that history and it makes sense, but the difference in this situation is the lack of credibility, I think, certainly within the Liberal Party towards the Nats. They think that they completely botched it and that they were misleading in terms of the way, in fact, they called the leader a liar. Various Liberals I spoke to, they can't abide the current leadership. So it's not only you go a new Liberal leader, but they've got the problem with the current national leadership, and also in that they don't want to be seen to be pushed or rewarding the recalcitrant Nationals.
Yeah, therein lies another problem. I mean, do you get rid of Littleproud as well and start afresh? You know, if I was somebody who was serious about trying to contest the centre ground in Australian politics on behalf of the Conservatives, I'm not, then I'll definitely be talking about just having a clean slate entirely. Because, you know, we have a fantastic system of government in this country. Look at what's happening in the United States right now and the way in which people are being shot on the streets and their law enforcement officials are held unaccountable. You know, we have got a system of government that we've got to protect, and it's up to our leaders to make sure that there is a common attitude towards protecting that rule of law and that centrist approach to government, which has held us in good stead for the entire life of our nation.
On to the next ambassador to the United States, Greg Moriarty, replacing Kevin Rudd. It's been widely praised. Really, the logic of this, he's got the experience, quite senior at the top of the Defence Department, but also someone with no social media record or a criticism of Donald Trump.
Well, he's got that going for him. Mind you, Donald Trump's Vice President, J.D. Vance, has a social media record going against Trump as well. Didn't hold him back. Look, I think if you ask me...
Not yet.
No, exactly, not yet. Maybe when one of the Trump juniors come along. I'm told by well-placed sources that people like Rubio and Vance and others, whenever they fall foul of the president, he reminds them about their social media commentary, and that and so they're never really let to forget about it. But I'd say this: I think that Kevin Rudd did an incredible job in navigating Australia's interests through the transition from the Biden government to Trump. An incredible job. Now he's moving on to be the president of the Asia Society, which is a very prestigious position. And Greg Moriarty is the exact right person that we need in that role right now. He receives bipartisan endorsement and that's critically important. But he's been there. He's an expert on the United States. He's well respected in the administrations of both the Democratic and Republican presidencies. What else can you ask for in an ambassador at a time like this? He's smart. He's whip smart. He's also considered, and as you say, he comes there with a clean slate, and that's great too. But I think
my prediction, and not my prediction, not based on this is not based on inside info, just on my instinct. I think Kevin Rudd will run again for the UN Secretary General position when it comes up. We will see, but I think I would have $5 on the fact that Kevin Rudd will throw his hat in the ring to be next Secretary General of the United Nations.
Well, I hope he gets
bipartisan words on that one.
Well, I hope he gets bipartisan support for it too, because the last time around he didn't.
I reckon.
And that was the reason.
No, that's true. But it would be in his thinking, I think, mark my words, he at least would be considering it. I reckon he'll probably throw his hat in the ring. Bruce, great to see you.